Hi, hythloday. All right, well, I found this a very interesting video. And one reason is that I noticed, I thought before, because you had mentioned, a communist parent way back when, that I thought this had an effect. And I don't think this is a negative thing. I think some of us have to be more sensitive to, you know, I don't know, communism, socialism, or whateverism, and some of us have to be less sensitive to it, so that we're a whole network of sensors of various sensitivity in all sorts of different subjects, right? So it's okay if there's a reason, and especially okay if we know the reason, all right? And I'll get to how this affects me as well. But I had noticed that. I think you're a bit sensitive to things that have a whiff of socialism. And I don't think that's fair just because you're familiar with people that violate it. And again, I'm going to go into my situation where there's a violation of principles that has a lot of irony to it, in a way, right? And what I'll get to is that you can, if you see a system like that and you're in a position to see what the positive things of that philosophy were, and your real gripe is that this person that taught them to you, that told you, gave you the, you know, idea about them, is a hypocrite and doesn't follow them, that doesn't make those principles bad, right? And you might have an insight on what sort of people use these principles as excuses, or just use them as a hat or a leather jacket that they put on really for some other reason. And you might have an insight of what that reason is. And it does not have to be that that's the whole reason for the philosophy. That's not really very likely, right? And you can tell, and in a way it doesn't matter because you can judge. And I see that you have a social, a community conscious, social conscious thing, as a lot of actual, very conservative people do as well. And sometimes it's this idea of guilt by association. And, again, I'm not totally against that. I think it's part of the some people being more sensitive. But it can limit your analysis of things. On the other hand, you have an insight into this situation that provides all you need to actually, use this to magnify. By knowing your own biases, you can, do data processing to, error handling to subtract those and increase the accuracy of your conclusions. Okay, so getting into my situation. Now, I had two baby boomer, what we call baby boomer parents. They were 18 and 1967 when I was born, right? And so imagine the situation there. Baby boomers, oh my God. Anyway, so they lasted a couple years together, but my dad ended up, dropping out and tuning in basically, and my mom became a single mom, right? Now, I saw my dad a lot, 3 months every summer, every other weekend. And I ended up living with him for a while in second grade when my mom went into the military. Now, my mom ended up teaching me sort of a philosophy of art, of introspection and expression through, so intro and extro expression through art. And my and my dad taught me introspection through brutal honesty and philosophy. He just got a philosophy degree, from, I was just thinking about, well, I must have been from none to four or something like that. And the funny thing is, they both turned on these things. Now, it's not that my mom ever started disliking art, but she went to art school and stuff. She stopped doing art because instead of processing her negative feelings, they were just coming up there and swamping her surface. She was sort of better off leaving them lay. Uh, I, on the other hand, continue to have a complete philosophy of art and have maintained my interest in doing art through particular methodologies to make sure I'm processing feelings through it. On the philosophical side, Did I wake you up? Okay. Love you, babe. On the philosophy side, my dad also seems to have become unphilosophical, like his 4-year philosophical education. Like Steve Martin says, in a philosophy degree, you learn just enough to fuck you up the rest of your life. But so the effects of that slowly wore off of my dad, and he became kind of anti-philosophical. So what is this? It's kind of like your situation. Um, Liberal parents failed me in some ways, and I love both my parents, and I get along with my mom, and she's great. Though there's some stuff, amazing stuff, right? And I don't talk to my dad because he doesn't want to talk to me. I've forgiven him 1,000 times, so whatever, but no. So, yeah, but so anyway, so I've had, both of them have stopped that, and so that's the difference, right? Because they're this way, and I could characterize how I think of liberalism in terms of what my dad, my mom also has become real conservative, and she's the one that taught me, environmentalism, even radical environmentalism. You know, Not that I ended up radical, but I mean that's where she's coming from. And now she's conservative. Oh, she's not good. She still likes nature, but no, she doesn't like pollution. But no, not environmentalist. and so the fact that they have both changed means that I can reject them and their flaws, their hypocrisy in the way they've taken things, and still adopt what they were going for. You see, I could purify, like I was suggesting earlier, those ideas. And not just the liberal ones, but the conservative ones, and so on. Because I'm sort of have a libertarian streak, and but I also have a communitarian streak, and so I'm really nauseated by the people that just take advantage of kind of good ideas. I sort of feel that a good intention, someone shouldn't have to get the logic exactly right for a good intention to not be exploited by a bunch of parasites, right? It's like if it could halfway work, people should just let it go and then fix it. But no, they come in and try to suck it dry through its weaknesses, and it's just like, I don't blame the person that had a good intention and didn't lock down, tied it with the security module around it, right? So, in other words, I'm talking about the exploitation of good ideas, both conservative good ideas and liberal good ideas, and everything outside of that box. So anyway, you bring up a really interesting subject, and I think it's good to know the biases and the reactions that we have against and toward our parents. That can be very ironic, very deep. Like I say, you could see a hypocritical parent and decide to be the non-hypocritical version of them. That's what I think I did before I knew that's what I'd done, right? Or you can see it and you can think, well, that characterizes the kind of person that goes for that sort of thing. And that's okay, but that's really, to me, grain of truth is you should go out there and find more socialists that are real socialists and try to live by, those ideas, and they won't be as radical, and they won't be using it as an excuse. And then the other thing, I've been talking a lot about groups, and this is just one of the many things with groups. When they form together and there's a good idea, and the people are tolerant of anybody that comes together on this one idea, and they start to get factionalized, and people want to lead it, and people have backstories, and for that matter, there's even sexual backstory and politics that adds to politics in weird networking ways and other friendships, and it just pollutes it, and and it's sort of akin to people using it as a social mechanism to go party. You can say that you're a good person, and that's why you have to go have a party and leave your kids. So on the other hand, I felt like with my young parents and stuff, and luckily I had two great grandmothers that were leadership to me, but I was still taken care of by my parents. And my mom, I really always admired her in spite of any faults, just because she did the single mom thing. It's like, as I grew up and I got older and older, I was just more and more impressed, like, that she did that. And you know, she just worked. She went to the welfare office, but not to get welfare. She worked as an eligibility tech for years. That's what made her conservative. Actually, seeing, I think, is my theory, that what turned or helped to make her express her conservative and libertarian side is that seeing people that didn't really seem like they deserved this help. And it was funny because all through that time there'd be cases of people that really did need help, and my mom was in a position to help them and did. And she would tell me about these cases like, I wish they were all like that. And I would tell her, that, okay, if 1 in 10 cases is like that helping that person is, in a sense, worth 100 times, the cost of those other people that don't really deserve help. To help 100 people like that, and you help one person like that that's really going to do something with it and really needs it, and doesn't seem like an abuse, that's worth it. That's what you're doing, yeah. Those people get carried, but this person comes and society blossoms by doing that. And not that I'm endorsing the view that it really is like that, but she just got to be more and more of that view, and she never accepted that, if you do 10%, it's like letting a few criminals go is bad, but if that means that you don't put an innocent person in jail, it's worth it, right? The negative of those people's freedom is worth the positive of this innocent person's freedom. So, or more, the innocent person's freedom's worth more. So you have to make compromises like that. So, yeah, I just meant to wander. I know I've strayed and wandered around the subject, but I think there's I would like to have an ongoing subject about this. I would like everybody to say what they think their parents' political influence is, and I guarantee if we learn enough about it, everybody's as ironic. You and me are probably pretty lucky that it was so overt that we know something about what it is. Now, I think, I wonder if you agree that you're a little biased towards anything that has a whiff of socialism or communism because of your experiences, and yet I see other videos and things that you made where I'm going like, he basically believes with this stuff. So you also believe some of it. Maybe you were indoctrinated and shouldn't. How do you feel about that meta issue you didn't really express? And yet I know you must have thought about that, or else if you haven't consciously, you have, because you're so, what happened to you. You know that these political influences influenced how you see those politics and stuff. I see that. That's what you express. Anyway, I really like this video. I think it should be an open conversation. This is something I would like in my site to make a conversation map out of, if people were to talk about. I think that the anti-natalist issues are interesting because of this sort of stuff. I'd like to integrate issues of natalism into philosophy. Not 100%, not like philosophy has to all be about that, but to integrate them in some cases like this, like, well, what are your politics versus your parents? Are you rejecting your parents? Are you accepting them? Are you doing both? Can you know? Do you think you know? Etc. So, yeah, good kind of video in terms of honest, but not like emo out there, but just like, hey, here's how some concrete things that happen to be personal as well, and to tell the story, it has to go together that way. And yet there's something very general about it, I think, as well. I think most of us that have baby boomer parents, I don't know how old your parents were, but anywhere near that, can have interesting stories, because it's kind of a generation, I think. All right. Cheers.